Hello guys, how are you doing? Berserker98 here, again with another Berserk chapter review. And this review will never be like the others because this is the first chapter after the unfortunate death of the legend himself, the manga god, Kentaro Miura. We didn't even know if we were going to get a chapter, we didn't even know if the manga was going to continue, we didn't even know what was going to happen with the story. But apparently, Studio Gaga, which is comprised of the assistants of Kentaro Miura, plus Kentaro Miura's very good friend Mori Koji, decided to continue on writing Berserk. Mori Koji is obviously a very good mangaka by himself. You know, he wrote Holy Land, Destroying Revolution, Suicide Island. He's a very good writer. His art also is very good. Of course, it's nowhere near as good as Kentaro Miura's art, but hey, you gotta take what you can get. They both work in Neon Animal. Personally, I would have liked for Inoue, Vagabond's author, to actually take care of the art, but that guy currently is so busy / he's on hiatus, he's not even drawing and writing his own stuff, so that's a reach. But I honestly think that Inoue was the only guy possible that could have worked as a replacement for Miura. Nobody will ever replace him. His art, I mean, just reading this chapter, I'm gonna go through it page by page, analyzing it, but I'll tell you right now, nothing will ever match Kentaro Miura's art. This guy was so banal about his art, he would spend hours on a single pixel. We can never get the same level of dedication. And this shows just from the publication dates of the chapters, because we're going to get another chapter in 2 weeks from now, so I think maybe the series is going to go on a bi-weekly status. This would have never been possible with Kentaro Miura because his attention to detail and his perfectionism would have never have allowed this. But it is what it is, it's the world we live in. Berserk will never be the same, but I guess in an interview, Koji said that he spoke to Kentaro Miura many times, and that Miura told him how he wanted the story to end and gave him some outlines of the story. I personally don't think that itself is enough, because we're not going to get the nuances. Mangakas change their minds all the time, so we didn't even know if what Miura said to Koji was his actual final thoughts, but he was just rambling about what he wanted to do. We will never know how Miura would have wrote this manga, but we gotta take what we can get. If only he wrote some notes, but it is what it is. So now we're just gonna go ahead and get into the actual chapter itself. We start with the first page, which is actually not that bad. The backgrounds here look very good, very detailed. This is probably due to the digital art. However, here's what I start taking offense. Puck's face is actually drawn very good, but look at his body. Look at the proportions of the arm and his torso. It just doesn't feel right. Just look at the proportions of the mermaids here. It just doesn't feel right. If you read one Koji's works before, you'll notice that he has a tendency to draw characters to be a bit anorexic. You know, a bit like 5% body fat, with abs stretching out all the way to their dicks. It's a bit weird. I mean, when he does it in its own manga, it's fine. It's his own style. He can rock with it. But when he does it to Berserk, honestly, it feels really, really weird. But again, we gotta take what we can get. Moving on, we see that all the creatures are alerted by a presence. Obviously, they feel an amazing spiritual force. As we're gonna know in the chapter, is actually gonna be Griffith. Obviously, Griffith is a god hand. He's one of the most terrifying spiritual presences in Berserk. Obviously, he can wrap space itself, if you remember in the panel where he fought, you know, the Skull Knight. He's one of the most terrifying spiritual presences in Berserk. And again, I'm going to mention the same thing. I know it's going to sound redundant, but look at the body. Look at the body proportions. Griffith looks like an anorexic, 5% body fat, you know, calisthenics bodybuilder. It just does not look right. It does not look right at all. His face is actually surprisingly well drawn. His hair too, but his body is totally off. But it's fine. It is what it is. We're just gonna have to get used to it. Hopefully, the story aspects makes up for it. And obviously, as Griffith appears, Casca gets the brand. And you know what's funny about this scene? This always gives me war flashbacks. Vietnam War flashbacks about the time where Casca spent 15 years as a retarded bitch not being able to remember anything. Remember how horrible that was? Guts sacrificing himself and doing all of these things and going out of his way to protect her, and her being a constant bitch to him. And what's funny is Miura wasted like, I don't know, 10 to 15 years of that. If he knew that he was gonna die in the future, I don't think he would have wasted all that time on that plot device. But it is what it is. And again, we have the anorexic ribs as always. I keep mentioning it, but honestly, it is what it is. So we see Casca being terrified of the pain. And something that's also very interesting and that I want to see expanded more on in the future is Fornese. The way she's surprised about Griffith's spiritual presence. Obviously, Shirke and Fornese here are very accomplished when it comes to magic. Obviously, Shirke way more so. So I want her insight on Griffith. I want her, because the god hands have been very mysterious. We obviously know that they're a god in this realm. We know they're very powerful, but we don't know much else, honestly. We have no idea what the idea of evil is. We have no idea if the idea of evil will still even be used as a concept. So I really want a breakdown from Shirke, giving us what she actually thinks about Griffith's spiritual / magical power. And of course, we see Guts, the Chad that he is, not caring about the pain. He's just remembering the pain that he felt in the eclipse and just wanting to kill Griffith. The rage that he's feeling here is, again, the rage face, the way it's drawn, is honestly not as good as Miura. But yeah, I'm just preaching to the choir here. It is what it is. We're seeing in this alt page also Casca being a little bit mad. I hope that she doesn't go retarded mode again. That would suck. And here's my complaint about the art, okay? Look at his face. If you remember, in the past chapters, Miura had a brilliant way to show kinetic energy, to show characters moving, whether it by Guts moving his sword or him moving himself. It was drawn really well. Here we just see cheap lines drawn here, and it's just not the same. It's really not the same. And obviously he goes in for the kill. And then we're gonna move on to the other chapter now, since it's actually a dual chapter. And as he goes for the kill, it just slashes right through him. I'm wondering why this is. Did he wrap space around him on some Obito shit? Is this just a projection, like a hollow? We don't know. Hopefully we get more information. We see here that he instantly transitioned. So is that also one of his powers, or is it also related to him warping space? Guts continues to attack him, and again, just look at this panel here. His rage face is just not drawn correctly at all. If you go back to specifically volume 34, which I think is one of the best volumes of Berserk when it comes to art, you'll see the way that the rage face is actually supposed to be drawn. It's really not drawn correctly here at all. But again, preaching to the choir. Guts continues to attack him. He tries to attack him, but to no avail. Griffith just mocks him, which makes me wonder, why is Griffith here? Obviously, he stated in the past that when he founded Falconia, he wanted to eliminate every single magical presence that exists in the world. Obviously, there's a lot of witches in Elfheim that threaten his power over the world, so he's gonna obviously want to get rid of that. Guts just gets more and more angry and tries to kill him, and this is one of the most fascinating panels, I think, in the chapter, because like I said, god hands are very ambiguous. We don't know a lot about them at all. So I really want Shirke to give us a magical breakdown on their power level. Apparently there's this magical portal that Shirke was almost gonna get sucked in. And looking at Fornese, I'm really impressed with her character development. If you remember, she was just like a damsel in distress, completely useless, but now she's the one warning Shirke about danger. She's the one who's preaching to Shirke about magic, and I just find that really funny. And as we go on, we see Guts continuing to try to attack Griffith. We see Griffith giving a slight smile here. Usually Griffith is very stoic. I think this is a bit out of character for him, but again, it's a new author, new art, so there really isn't much we can do about it. Obviously we see Guts trying to attack him, and then out of nowhere, the man himself, Nosferatu Zod, comes in and tries to kill him. Thinking of what's going to happen in the next chapter, I honestly don't know how he's going to survive this. I guess he can activate his Berserker armor and kill Zod. When it comes to Griffith, I don't think it's going to matter, because if Griffith wanted Guts dead, Guts would have been dead already. Guts doesn't really have the necessary power-ups to face and or kill Griffith yet, so it's going to be irrelevant. I think that he's going to get that power up after he talks to the Skull Knight. The Skull Knight is probably going to give him that sort of power up. So it's very hard to say what's going to happen here. But overall, the chapter wasn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be. The art isn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be. The story is very fast-paced. If it was Miura, these events would have been shown in like 7 chapters. And on one hand, I obviously like Berserk moving forward because I obviously want to see the ending. But on the other hand, I'm a bit saddened. I'm a bit saddened about the lower quality art. I'm a bit saddened about the fast pacing, which really lowers the quality of the storytelling and lowers the quality of the emotional impact of the of the characters and of what's happening in the story. But it is what it is. We got to take what we can get. I hoped that when Miura talked to Koji about the story, he actually gave him a specific outline on what's actually going to happen. We have no idea on what happened in those conversations, so we can only guess. Honestly, this chapter compared to Kentaro Miura's chapters, it's not the best. It's really not the best. But compared to most other seinen mangas, it's actually really good. Because again, Koji is a very good, talented mangaka by himself. And Studio Gaga has been working with Miura for years, so I'm sure some of his DNA, some of his craft has been implemented into them. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. It is what we can get. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the next chapter. I'm very excited that Berserk is potentially back to a 2-week cycle. And we're going to have to see what happens. I'm really looking forward to Shirkey's magical explanation of Griffith. I'm really looking forward to what Griffith is going to say to Guts in the next chapter. And I guess we're just going to have to wait to find out. So yeah, I think I summed up my entire thoughts in this review quite well. I'm going to see you guys in the next chapter. Like the video if you did, and subscribe for more videos.